The stars were quiet. For over 200 years, the galaxy had known peace under the rule of the Elvari Dominion, a proud and ancient race of powerful aliens known for their beauty, grace, and strict traditions. At the heart of this mighty empire was Princess Aelira, the youngest ruler in Elvari history. With silver eyes and copper-red hair like living fire, she was known across systems not only for her beauty, but her pride. She stood alone in the hall of judgment, where thousands had once gathered to offer alliances, gifts, and even their hands in marriage. Aelira had refused them all. No warrior was brave enough, no prince wise enough. She believed no male in the galaxy was worthy of her, not even among her own kind, but peace is a fragile thing. Without warning, it broke. It started in the quiet outer rings of Elvari space. Whole stations went silent, patrols vanished. Survivors spoke of a shadow that moved without sound, without light, consuming everything. The Elvari called it the Hollow. An enemy with no face, no voice, and no mercy. At first, the royal court ignored the warnings. Aelira, seated on her throne of crystal and light, believed her empire could not be touched. "We are Elvari," she had said. "We do not kneel. We do not fear shadows." But then, the Hollow came closer. Entire planets fell in days. Elvari fleet ships that had once won 100 wars were torn apart in seconds. Refugees flooded the core worlds. The sky over Elvari Prime burned red. And still, Aelira refused to show weakness. General Varn, her most trusted warrior, entered her chambers one night, breaking all protocol. He dropped to one knee, his voice trembling. "My princess, we cannot win this war alone. We must call for aid." Aelira's eyes narrowed. "You mean from the humans?" "Yes, the humans. Their world is small, but their fire is unmatched. They fight with fury and madness. They don't fear death." The word human was like poison in her mouth. The Elvari had always looked down on Earth. Crude, chaotic, undisciplined. They were everything the Elvari were not. But they were survivors, still. She turned away. "They are beneath us." But the war didn't care for pride. Days later, the Hollow reached the capital's outer defenses. The sound of alarms never stopped. The skies were full of black, spinning death. Aelira stood before her people, her voice firm, even as her heart began to waver. Then something happened she did not expect. A single human ship broke through the Hollow's line and entered Elvari space without permission. Its design was strange, ugly, boxy, unlike their beautiful crafts, but it moved fast. Inside was a lone pilot. Calcine, Reaper-9. He didn't wait for permission. He dropped into the war zone like fire, weaving through hollow ships and blasting them apart with weapons the Elvari had never seen. His ship bled smoke. It spun out of control, but even crashing, he took 3 more enemies down with him. They pulled him from the wreckage half dead. He was young, covered in scars, but his eyes held something raw and untamed. Not fear, not pride. Just fire. Aelira watched from a distance, hidden behind her guards. She had expected a beast, some crude savage. Instead, she saw something else. He didn't kneel. He didn't speak their language well. But when he looked at her, there was no fear in his eyes. "You're her?" he asked, coughing blood. "You're the one they said was too good for anyone?" Her guards moved to strike him, but Aelira raised her hand. She stepped forward, curious. "And who are you, human?" He grinned, bloody teeth and all. "Just the guy who saved your people." Then he passed out, and in that moment, something inside the princess cracked. Just a little. She had ruled empires. She had faced monsters. But never, not once, had someone spoken to her like that. Like an equal. She didn't know his name. She didn't even know why he came. But one thing was certain. The war had changed everything. And so had the human. *. The human's name was Dax. No title, no family name. Just Dax. He woke up 2 days later inside a healing pod, surrounded by Elvari doctors who didn't speak his language. He coughed hard, then sat up, eyes scanning the room like a soldier still in battle. "Where's my ship?" he asked. "Did I kill him?" The doctors didn't answer. They only stepped back and sent for the princess. Princess Aelira stood outside the medical chamber, watching through the glass. She had changed since the day he arrived. Her armor was still flawless, her crown still sharp, but something behind her eyes had shifted. She no longer looked at the world with the same cold pride. She looked at him. When she entered, Dax didn't rise or kneel. He didn't lower his eyes. He just nodded once. "You're still alive," Aelira said. "You're welcome," he answered. She almost smiled. Almost. "You're the first human to enter the heart of Elvari space uninvited," she said. "Why did you come?" Dax leaned back. "Your people were dying. I saw it on the wideband. I had a ship and a reason." "That was enough." "That's it?" she asked. "That's it." Aelira blinked. For years, suitors from all across the galaxy had begged her for marriage, power, or beauty. They brought gifts, sang songs, swore loyalty. But this man, this human, had no gifts. No sweet words. He had only come to fight, and he didn't want anything from her. Later that night, the princess met with her council. The war was growing worse. Hollow forces had landed on the moon above Elvari Prime. The defense grid was failing. "We need the humans," General Varn said again. "And now we have one," the council argued. Some said humans were too wild, too unpredictable. Others feared they would lose control if humans joined their war. But Aelira raised her hand. "Let him stay," she said. "Let him fight." And so Dax was given a new ship. Not an Elvari ship, but something older Earth tech, rebuilt by Elvari engineers. He called it Bone Shaker. Ugly, loud, fast. Like him, he trained beside the Elvari guard, but he didn't follow orders. He made his own path. He laughed when others stayed silent. He called the hollow space bugs and blew them apart. Like pests, and the Elvari soldiers at first cold started to watch him with interest. Some even copied his tactics. Some even smiled, but Princess Aelira, she watched from afar. He confused her. He wasn't beautiful. He wasn't polished. He didn't speak with poetry. He was reckless and messy, but he was brave. One night after a hard battle near the outer ring, Aelira went down to the war bay to see him. He was covered in soot, blood on his shirt, oil on his hands, leaning against his ship like it was home. "You're not like the others," she said. "Good," he replied. "They're all dead. You joke too much. It's either that or scream." She tilted her head. "Do you ever fear death?" Dax looked at her, serious now. "I fear dying without meaning. Not the dying part." She didn't speak for a while. Then she said softly, "You could have left after the first battle. Why stay?" He shrugged. "Guess I don't like bullies." "You mean the hollow?" "No, I mean anyone who thinks they're better than others. Like your people used to." Her eyes widened. "I should throw you in a cell for that," she said coldly. "Then do it," he replied. But she didn't. She just turned and walked away. That night, she didn't sleep. For the first time in her life, someone had spoken to her like she was just a person. Not a princess. Not a symbol. Just a girl caught in a war. And the strange part? She didn't hate it. The next morning, news came in. A hollow flagship was seen near the central star cluster. If it reached Elvari Prime, it could destroy everything. The council panicked. The generals debated. And Dax? He was already in his ship. Engines hot. He didn't wait for orders, he just went. Aelira watched from the tower, her heart strangely tight. No one had ever disobeyed her and made her feel not angry but afraid, not for herself, for him. Something she never expected was starting to grow inside her. Something dangerous. And human. The hollow flagship was a monster in the sky. It wasn't made like normal ships. It didn't have windows or lights. It looked like a giant black wound, pulsing with dark energy. Around it flew hundreds of smaller hollow drones, protecting it. Like angry bees, no one had ever dared to attack it, except Dax. He flew straight toward it. Alone, engines screaming, shields burning. He moved like lightning fast, sharp, wild. Elvari commanders watching from command towers couldn't believe what they saw. "He's insane," one whispered. But Princess Aelira stood silent, eyes locked on the screen. The hollow drones swarmed. Dax like a storm. He weaved through them, dodging, flipping, firing. His ship Bone Shaker wasn't pretty, but it was deadly. It shook, sparked, and groaned, but it flew like it had a soul. The Elvari fleet, inspired by his madness, finally joined in. One by one, they moved to support him, something they never would have done before. He didn't lead with orders. He led with action. Inside the hollow flagship, the darkness opened like a mouth. A pulse of pure black energy shot out toward the planet. Below. Princess Aelira watched in horror. If that beam touched Elvari Prime, millions would die. Dax saw it too. And without thinking, he pulled his ship into its path. The energy blast hit him full force. His ship shook violently, warning lights flashing everywhere. Reactor failure. The computer screamed, Yeah, I got it." Dax shouted, fighting the controls. Instead of pulling away, he dove deeper, right toward the center of the enemy flagship. Through fire, through shadows, through the impossible. From the palace tower, Aelira whispered, "Don't die." Dax reached the heart of the hollow ship and launched his last torpedoes. 2 seconds later, the black monster exploded in a wave of red and violet fire. The shockwave spread across the stars. The drones dropped, dead and lifeless. The sky went quiet. Dax's ship didn't come back. Hours passed. No signal, no beacon, nothing. The Elvari celebrated the victory, but Aelira didn't move. She stood alone on the balcony, staring at the stars, her throat tight, her hands cold. For the first time in her life, she wanted someone to return, not for duty, not for honor, just return. Then, a tiny light blinked on the far edge of the sky. One damaged escape pod. They pulled it aboard a rescue frigate. He was alive but barely. Burns across his arms. Breathing shallow, broken ribs. He couldn't open his eyes, but he was smiling. "Tell the princess," he whispered before passing out. "I'm not done bothering her yet." They rushed him to the healing chambers again. This time, Aelira didn't watch from behind the glass. She entered the room and sat beside him. He looked weaker now, his face pale, breath shaky. But he was alive. She reached out slowly and touched his hand. His fingers moved. Weak but real. "I ordered you not to die," she said softly. "You disobeyed again." He gave the smallest grin. "You're welcome, again." Then he fell asleep. For days, Aelira stayed close. The war wasn't over, but this one battle had given them hope. And it had changed something inside her. The pride that once filled her heart was now mixed with something softer. She had seen courage in a man with no rank, no bloodline, and no reason to risk his life for a world that wasn't his. She had rejected all suitors for years. And now, without asking, one man had entered her heart through fire and ruin. The court began to whisper. Some were angry. Some were confused. But Aelira didn't care. Let them talk. One night, as Dax finally woke up for more than a few seconds, she stood by his side again. He looked at her. His voice was rough. "Still here?" She nodded. "Your trouble. You like trouble now?" She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "Maybe." He smiled, just a little. "I've never begged for anything in my life," she said. "But now." She stopped herself. He looked at her, calm and steady. "What would make a princess beg?" Aelira stared into his human eyes, and for the first time in her life, she didn't know the answer, but she wanted to find out. The hollow flagship was gone, but the war wasn't over. Without their main ship, the hollow forces scattered, but they didn't run. They regrouped. Their attacks grew faster, more desperate, more violent. It was as if the hollow had lost something precious, and now they were angry. The Elvari command rushed to prepare new defenses. Every planet, every station, every ship was on high alert. But while the galaxy burned outside, Princess Aelira remained inside the palace walls. She stayed close to Dax as he healed. Day by day, he grew stronger. His cuts faded, his voice returned, and the light in his eyes never dimmed. He joked, even when he was in pain. "You Elvari don't believe in painkillers?" He groaned one morning. "We believe in strength," she said. "Remind me never to get hurt around you again." She rolled her eyes, but she didn't leave. The palace felt different now. Colder to some, warmer to others, the servants whispered. Generals paused when they passed her chambers. No one dared to question the princess, but they were watching. One night, as Dax rested on the edge of the balcony overlooking the glowing city below, Aelira joined him. The sky above shimmered with shield energy. Warships hovered in the distance. "Like silent giants, you're healing fast," she said. "Earth genetics," he replied. "Or maybe I just wanted to see you again." She looked away, not smiling but not angry either. "You confuse me," she said. "Good. The moment I make sense, I'm probably dead." She was quiet for a moment, then asked softly, "Why don't you ask for anything?" He turned to face her. "Ask for what?" "Fame, power, gold, my hand. That's what others want." Dax shook his head. "I'm not others. I didn't come to win you." "Then why are you still here?" He looked at her with eyes that didn't flinch. "Because you're still fighting. And maybe I want to fight beside you." No one had ever said that to her before, not even her own people. Most followed her out of duty, out of fear. Not choice. The next morning, the council demanded her attention. General Varn stood tall, his voice firm. "Your Highness, a decision must be made. The Hollow are not stopping. Our fleets are stretched thin. We have one option left." "What option?" Aelira asked. "The humans. We send a full alliance request to Earth's High Command. We ask for joint leadership." The room went silent. Aelira's jaw tightened. "You want me to share control of our armies with humans? It's the only way," he said. "Your pride won't protect us now." She didn't answer right away. Her people were proud. Her culture was old. Letting humans, loud, strange, unpredictable humans, into the Elvari command was almost unthinkable. But then she remembered the way Dax stood alone in battle. She remembered how he didn't kneel, and how he didn't ask for anything. Later that night, she found him outside the repair bay, checking his ship. "I need your help," she said. He looked up, surprised. "You asking or ordering?" She paused, searching for the words. "I'm choosing to ask." That meant something. He nodded slowly. "What do you need?" "A message, from me, to your people. A call for unity. I want you to carry it." Dax stared at her. "You sure about this? You might lose control of your own war." She stepped closer. "If we lose the war, control won't matter." He smiled. "You're changing." She looked into his eyes. "Or maybe I'm finally seeing clearly." The next morning, the ship was ready. Dax stood at the bay door, helmet under his arm. Aelira came to see him off. No guards. No speeches, just the two of them. "You said you never beg," he said. Teasing gently. "I still don't," she replied. "But I ask." "Fair enough." She hesitated, then stepped closer. "If they accept and Earth joins the war, you'll return with them?" "I'll return either way." And for a moment, the cold Elvari princess did something unthinkable. She touched his hand, not as a ruler, not as a warrior, as a woman who For the first time, didn't want to be alone in the fight. As the ship lifted off and vanished into the stars, she watched until it disappeared. Behind her, the war waited, but inside her, something new had begun, something even she couldn't control. Dax's journey to Earth was long and silent. He traveled through half-broken jump gates, dodged hollow scouts, and flew alone in deep space. But he never turned back. Inside his ship was the message, the voice of Princess Aelira speaking not with pride, but with purpose. She asked for help, not because she was weak, but because the fight was too big for one empire. When he reached Earth orbit, the skies were packed with defense satellites and battle platforms. Earth didn't trust easily. But when they heard Aelira's message, everything changed. Within hours, Dax stood before Earth's allied command, telling them everything about the Hollow, about the Elvari, about the war, and about her. She's not who you think. Dax told them. She's more. Some doubted. Some warned it could be a trap. But others remembered who Dax was. A rogue pilot who saved an alien world by flying into death and surviving. So Earth answered. 50 ships. 3 elite battle groups. Human soldiers trained for impossible wars. Weapons that weren't graceful but deadly, fast, brutal, efficient. They called it Operation Skyfire. Dax was chosen to lead the envoy back. As the human fleet entered Elvari space, thousands watched from the palace towers. Their elegant skies now filled with heavy, dark metal ships. Earth didn't care for beauty. They came to win, and at the front of it all, Bone Shaker, Dax returned, walking off his ship in full pilot armor. The Elvari soldiers watched him, some still unsure. But when Aelira stepped forward to greet him, everything froze. She didn't send guards. She didn't wear her crown. She walked to him like an equal. "You came back," she said. "I said I would." "You brought an army," he smiled. "You asked." From that moment, the Elvari and humans stood side by side. For the first time in history, 2 completely different species shared command. It wasn't easy. The Elvari followed rules. The humans followed instincts. There were arguments, even fights, but under Aelira and Dax, things began to work. Together, they launched joint strikes on hollow strongholds. Human firepower and Elvari precision made a deadly mix. Victories followed. For the first time in months, the Hollow were pushed back, but with each win, the danger grew deeper. The Hollow were not creatures, they were a mind. A single will, a living intelligence hiding inside a dark void. And now it was watching. Then one day, the Hollow spoke. No one had ever heard its voice. Not through sound but through machines. It hacked into palace systems, appearing as a black cloud across every screen. A whisper, deep and cold, echoed. "You gave your heart to a lesser being. Now you will watch him burn." The voice vanished. Everyone turned to the princess. They knew what it meant. The Hollow had seen the bond between her and Dax, and now it wanted to break her from the inside. Security around Dax was tightened. He stayed close to command towers, away from front lines. But he hated waiting. "I'm not hiding while others fight," he told Aelira. "You don't need to prove anything. I'm not proving. I'm protecting." But she could see it in his eyes. He didn't want to be safe. He wanted to stand with her. Then came the Hollows. Counterattack. A fleet 10 times larger than anything before. It hit the mining colonies on the edge of the system. Human and Elvari forces rushed to defend. But they were outnumbered. And at the heart of the enemy fleet, a weapon no one had seen before. A living ship. Black. Shifting and feeding on energy around it. If it reached the core planets, it would consume everything. Dax stood in the war room beside Aelira as the reports came in. "You can't go," she told him. "This time, it's not just risk. It's death." He looked at her. "If I don't go, others die in my place. I can't sit back." She grabbed his hand, for the first time not as a princess, but as someone who didn't want to lose what she had just begun to feel. "Then let me go." "With you," she said. He stared at her, surprised. "You'd fly into that with me?" "I'd fly into worse," she replied. For years, she believed she needed no one, but now she didn't want to fight without him. They launched together, leading a joint strike team. As their ships flew into the heart of darkness, the stars behind them faded, and the final test began. Asterisk. The moment Princess Aelira and Dax entered hollow space, everything changed. Their ships flew side by side, leading a mix of Elvari and human fighters. Behind them, the rest of the fleet waited for the signal. Ahead of them, darkness swallowed the stars. The Hollow's weapon wasn't just massive, it was alive. It twisted in the black like a serpent of metal and smoke, feeding off nearby suns, pulling energy from space itself. It had no eyes, no bridge, no weak points, but it was watching, and it was ready. As they flew closer, static filled their comms. The closer they got, the more their systems failed. Lights flickered. Weapons jammed. Dax slammed his fist against the controls. "Bone Shaker doesn't like ghosts," he muttered. "I don't think this is a ghost," Aelira said, voice tense. "It's something worse." Then the voice returned cold, echoing, and filled with poison. "You do not belong together." Their screens went black. And in the darkness, each of them saw something. Dax saw Earth burning, his squad mates screaming, himself alone. Aelira saw her people crushed under hollow claws, her crown broken, her throne gone. But both of them pushed forward. Inside the hollow core, the shadows opened like a mouth. And from that mouth came something new, a creature made of pure void, shaped like a man but twisted and sharp, as if built from knives and fire. Aelira gasped. "It's copying you." Dax stared. The creature walked like him, stood like him, even spoke like him, but its voice was full of hate. "You are the weakness in her," it said to Dax. "You make her soft. You make her foolish. Let me remove you." The creature launched forward. Their ships shook as hollow drones appeared from every direction. Aelira shouted, "Now, form up, defensive ring." Human and Elvari ships locked into formation, but the enemy kept coming. Hundreds, thousands. In the middle of it, Dax fought the shadow clone. It moved faster than anything he had seen. It dodged, struck, vanished, returned. He wasn't winning. Aelira, in her own ship, saw him falling behind. "Dax, pull back." "I can't," he said. "This thing's locked on me. If I run, it follows us all. Then what do we do?" He hesitated. Then he said quietly, "You run." She froze. "I'm not leaving you. You have to. The weapon is tied to this thing. You take the fleet and destroy the core. I'll keep this one busy." "No. You said you'd fly into worse. This is it." A pause. Then softly she replied, "I should never have let you in." "I'm glad you did." He turned his ship and dove straight into the core, dragging the shadow with him. Aelira's breath shook. She could feel the tears behind her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She switched comms. "All units," she said. "We target the core. Follow me." They moved together. Lasers burned through the Hollow's outer armor. Missiles slammed into glowing veins of energy. Human warships blasted holes in the side. Elvari fighters danced through the debris. Like silver arrows, inside the core, Dax's ship was failing. Sparks filled the cockpit. His controls were dying. The shadow was right behind him, whispering, "You will die alone." But Dax smiled through blood. "I already made peace with that." With the last bit of power, he pulled a nuclear core from his damaged engine. Then he turned to the creature and said, "Tell your master, humans don't beg." He threw the core and fired. The explosion ripped through the hollow core like thunder. Outside, the entire living ship began to collapse. The sky turned white. Pieces of the hollow weapon broke apart, burning in every direction. The Elvari and human fleet cheered, but Aelira didn't cheer. She stared at the wreckage. She waited. She searched the stars for any signal, but there was none. Dax was gone. Her hands clenched the controls. Her voice was steady, but her heart was breaking. He had been reckless, rough, loud, strange, and now he was the one she would never forget. Behind her, the Hollow were dying, but inside her, something else was breaking. She had finally given her heart, and now it was gone. The war was over. After the Hollow weapon fell, their remaining forces scattered. Without the core mind, the drones became lifeless. The galaxy began to breathe again. Elvari Prime lit its skies with silver and violet banners. Songs of victory echoed across the capital. Statues were planned, medals prepared, but Princess Aelira didn't smile. She stood on the tower where she had first seen Dax fly through the flames. Now she looked at the stars every night, hoping to hear a signal, a whisper, a sound. Anything. But space remained silent. General Varn came to her one morning with a folder in hand. We recovered black box data from Bone Shaker. Her heart jumped. She opened the file quickly. Inside was a final audio log. Dax's voice, crackling, broken, but clear. If anyone's hearing this, I guess I didn't make it back. That's okay. I've had worse mornings. If you're Aelira, then I guess I owe you a real answer. You asked why I stayed, why I kept fighting. Truth is, you reminded me of something I thought was gone: hope. You're stronger than anyone I've ever met, but you don't have to carry everything alone. I wanted to stand beside you, not just in battle, always. And if this is the end, I don't regret a thing. Tell your people the war didn't end because of weapons. It ended because two worlds fought as one. The message ended there. She listened to it 3 times. Then she placed the recorder on her desk and sat in silence. That evening, she stood before the Grand Council and made an announcement. I will not accept any new suitors, she said. Gasps filled the room. Advisors whispered, but she raised her hand. I gave my heart once, and no crown, no ceremony, no arrangement can replace what I lost. And no one dared to speak against her. Time passed. Months turned to a year. Aelira ruled with new eyes now. She was still fierce, still proud, but wiser. She worked closely with human diplomats. Earth and Elvari shared science, trade, training. For the first time in history, the stars truly united. But inside her heart, a small piece remained empty, until one cold night, the silence broke. A lone Elvari patrol ship, drifting near a dead hollow zone, picked up a faint signal. Old Earth tech, damaged, barely readable. But the ID was clear. Reaper-9. They brought the escape pod to the palace. Directly. Inside it was a human body, weak, thin, but alive. When the medical team pulled off the helmet, Princess Aelira's knees nearly gave out. It was Dax. Burned, faded, but smiling. You missed me? He whispered. She couldn't speak. She walked forward, slowly, as if afraid he might vanish. He reached out his hand, and this time, she didn't hesitate. She took it. They say no one ever truly broke the Elvari princess, but they were wrong. One human did. Not with war, not with power, not with charm, but by never asking for her, and still being the only one she ever gave herself to. Together, they built a new legacy. One where pride meant nothing without connection, and where even the most stubborn heart could learn to kneel, not in weakness, but in love.